when I was a naive 24-year-old, met a charming and very smart and way older man. We call him Jake. His sister is Dana, and I'm Gyna. Now, to the story. Jake was 42, recently divorced, or so he told me, and got a kid that he would see on the weekends. We met online, through a poetry website where both of us used to write. He was very aloof and stern in his comments, and not very popular on the website because he used to always come off like an arrogant prick, but I really liked his poems, regardless of his personality, and that's how it began. I commented on one, and he instantly PMs me back, praising my writing and asking me if we could collaborate on a duet together. I've already done it 1,000 times with a few friends and people on the site that I respected, so I said sure. So long story short, we met on Hotmail Messenger. This was nearly 11 years ago, kids, so no WhatsApp. Although we did chat on Facebook too. This will be relevant later. We instantly connected. He was funny, handsome, and really sweet underneath all his bravado, and his dark sense of humor was right up my alley. We spent months pulling all-nighters, just talking and writing together. Not humble bragging, but I was pretty popular on the site because I won a few awards, so by association he became popular too. People started to read Jake's poems and commented, and obviously, he got a huge head about it. But I digress. Our relationship became more serious after he confessed that he was falling for me and I was smitten. So I went along with it. We talked about my recent breakup, and he assured me that he would never lie to me because the witch of his ex-wife cheated on him, and he was devastated until he met me. I was shocked at how bad her ex was, but assured him that I was all in. One important detail about our turbulent romance is that he was in South America because he's from there, and I was still living in Italy, in my hometown. So, after almost 2 years of excuses for how tied up with work he was, I decided to surprise him with a visit. I bought my ticket, and it literally was like a dream. He picked me up, we kissed, and hugged, and he took me to his beach house, which by the way would have been my first red flag, but I was dumb, young, and in love. Saying that it would be so much easier and fun for me to do touristy stuff on a beach port than staying in his suburbs house with no car. I told him on such short notice that he didn't have the time nor the means to take time off, which again, blatant lie because he was one of the partners of the company. But again, I bought it, and off I went on my own almost for the entire week that I was there. He only spent one night with me, and the rest of the week just picked me up from whatever it was that I ended up wandering, and we hung out for a few hours, had sex, and then he just dropped me off at the house. I know that most of you are thinking, come on OP, just get your head out of your ass and realize what a bunch of bullshit that is. And believe me, now writing this, I realized how much of an idiot I was. But it gets better. The day before I had to get back to Italy, he took me to dinner with his 6-year-old son and his sister. I was super happy to meet his family and son, but got caught off guard when he just introduced me as his friend from Italy dropping on the town for tourist. Her sister was super sweet, albeit a bit awkward, and his son was adorable. We ate, talked, and off we went. He picked me up first thing in the morning and dropped me off at the airport. Now that you got the full story, I'll get to the good part. 2 days later, and still a bit jet-lagged, I got a very interesting email. Her email was short and very simple. Dear Gina, I know that you might think I was weird and maybe a bit rude when we met, but it was only because I was tricked by Jay to join the dinner with his kid. He never mentioned that you guys were dating, but after confronting Jake, he confessed and begged not to tell anyone or his marriage would be ruined. But you're such a sweet young girl who doesn't deserve his deception. Jake is still married and never left their home. Don't take just my word for it. and Dana sent me pictures of his real Facebook profile, and surprise, the perfect little family. I thanked her and shut down my computer. I really thought Jake was the love of my life, and was seriously considering moving there. I spent all night crying and drinking wine until I got myself the worst migraine. But the heartbreak lasted about 12 hours. At 4 in the morning, I got up, showered, made a pot of fresh coffee, and started planning my revenge. I was hurt, yes, but also so angry that he not only deceived me, but dragged his sister and his innocent child in his lie. I was on the other side of the world, and I didn't have the money to pay someone to kick his ass or egg his car. But as my Sicilian father would say to me, if someone slaps you, don't turn the other cheek, cut off their fucking hand. And so I did. Cue my sweet revenge. I sat down on my desk and turned on the computer and logged in to his Hotmail. I didn't have the password, but I knew him well enough to answer his 3 security questions in the section Forgot Password. 1, 2, 3, bum baby. I'm in, and holy shit, this arrogant piece of human crap was not only dating me, but the other 2 girls. I quickly logged onto his Facebook too, because he had everything linked, so I quickly changed all his passwords to I'm a prick, and discovered that his personal email was also connected to his work account. I dug through his emails for 2 hours. This idiot never erased anything, so he had more than 5,000 emails. Until I found something very interesting, the girls he was also seeing and their very hot email exchanges, dick pics included. So what did I do, you guessed? I crafted a very lengthy and explicit email with pics and chat logs, attached confessing to Jake's wife, posting as him obviously, begging for forgiveness and declaring how much of a shit person I was, and as proof of my willingness to change and transparency, was sending this email to the girls too. But I did it only because I was a closeted gay and thought that being a player would help me forget how much I really loved guys. I was sick of pretending and hoped she could move on and maybe be friends. But not only to them. I fucking copied his entire list of contacts, including the CEO and partners of the company he worked for, his parents, and Dee of course. This email was perfect. All the pictures and chats he ever exchanged with any other women. I copied myself on the list, obviously, as a countermeasure, and moved on to part 2 of my plan. I changed all of his Facebook and declared that I was so relieved that people finally knew who was I. The pride flag was his new wall picture, and his profile picture was a photoshopped picture of 2 guys kissing. I created 5 different accounts on gay websites with his info, including his phone number, and started to chat with a bunch of guys until out of nowhere, this guy sent me, or better yet, he sent Jake a message. Tony was his old uni friend that had always been secretly lusting for him for years, and although I felt bad for this later, I set up a date. Now, let's move on to part 3 of my plan. A week after this massive internet blowout, his family and friends angrily called him all sorts of names and got fired because his bosses didn't want the bad press. So Jake, trying to make amends with his family and friends, and makes a BBQ for his birthday. But I would have paid 1 year's worth of salary just to see his face and his guests when in the middle of their celebration, Tony appeared with a bottle of champagne and a bag full of lube and sex toys to celebrate privately as I asked. Apparently, there was a huge fight and everyone left Jake flustered and angry, crying because some psycho wanted to ruin his life. I blocked him and forgot about everything until 6 months ago, when he out of the blue sent me a message on Instagram asking me why I disappeared and didn't support him when he was at his lowest. And oh boy, the satisfaction I felt when I only replied back, "Sorry Jake, but I think everything you got was karma for all the lies and time wasted you feed me. Good luck. Oh, and by the way, it was always me." I then blocked him and made my account private. Jake did try to call a few mutual friends to try to get them to give him my number, but they ignored him. They also got the infamous email. So yeah, I got my revenge, and I was worth every single hour. Update number 1. For those who think making him appear gay was wrong of me, let me tell you that it was only because of his very machismo attitude and homophobic personality, and because sadly for most Latin males, there's nothing worse than gay people. I am 100% with the gay community and love and support them dearly. Update number 2. Let me clarify a few points so all people on the back can put down the pitchforks. I never outed Tony. He was very much outside the closet since he was 12-year-old, and on said BB key, he was never beaten, abused, or in danger. The blowout and the fight were Jake's family and friends. Blowing up at him, Tony left safely as soon as he realized the setup. 11 years later, he's happily married and with a beautiful child and lives in Europe. Can't say which country, but just know he's happy, and we're still Facebook friends. I apologized to him a few weeks after the BP, and although he was hurt, he forgave me and even laughed at all the things I showed him. Final update. I acknowledge that what I did wasn't much better than what he did to me. I was selfish, reckless, and stupid, and I did feel bad for it, and actually after all that blown. I reached out to Tony and apologized to him for dragging him on my petty revenge. He was upset, but after hearing my side, he was glad I did. He only wished I was upfront with him. We didn't end like BFF, but he's still my friend on Facebook and always sent me updates on his life. And to clarify some few points. Number 1. I'm half Italian, half Latina. That's why I'm fluent in both Spanish and Italian. Number 2. We met on Spanish poetry website. Number 3. The mutual friends I talked about are a few friends who lived in South America and wrote on the site with us.